I was 91 years old when they sat me down and asked me to speak into that machine. I almost refused. I have never been a woman who believed her words were worth preserving. But then I thought about what I knew, what I had paid to know, and I decided that if even one person heard me and stopped wasting what I wasted, then the embarrassment of talking to a machine was worth it. My name is Harriet Constance Bowen. I was born in the spring of 1842 in a farmhouse outside Worcester, Massachusetts. When I came into this world, there were no railroads in my county yet. There was no electricity, no telephone. There was a wood stove, a Bible, a father who worked until his hands bled, and a mother who never once complained about anything, which I understood later was not strength, but silence she had learned to call strength. I know that silence well. I practiced it myself for decades. I am 91 years old. I have buried a husband. I have buried 2 of my 5 children. I have outlived nearly every friend and neighbor I ever knew. My world has gone quiet, in the way that only happens when the people who once filled it are gone. And in that quiet, I have seen things clearly that I could not see when the noise of living was still loud around me. I am going to tell you what I stopped caring about before I turned 90. Not because I am wise, but because I was foolish for most of my life, and I do not want you to be as foolish as I was. Listen to me carefully, because what I am about to say is not kind, and it is not meant to be. The first thing I stopped caring about was the need to be right. I spent 50 years being right. In my marriage, in my household, in arguments with my sister that started over small things and lasted years. I was right about the way to salt the pork. I was right about how the children should be disciplined. I was right about money, about neighbors, about the direction of things. I kept score. I remembered everything. My husband, Edmund, was a quiet man, not weak, quiet. He did not argue back the way I argued. He would go still, the way a field goes still before rain, and say very little, and I would think I had won something. I had won nothing. What I had done was push a man who loved me a little further into himself every single time, year by year, argument by argument. Every moment I chose being right over being close, I was making a choice. I did not know I was making it. That is the thing about the need to be right. It does not feel like a choice. It feels like the truth. But it is not the truth. It is pride wearing the face of truth. Edmund died in the winter of 1897. He had been ill for 2 years, and I had nursed him faithfully, because I was a faithful wife. I changed his linens. I sat with him through the long nights. I held his hand when the breathing became difficult. I did all of it. I was good to him at the end. And yet, on the last night, when he was past the point of speech, I sat next to the bed and I thought about all the times he had gone quiet in that particular way. And I understood, sitting there in the dark with the lamp turned low and his breathing shallow and the children asleep in the next room, that I had never once, in 31 years of marriage, let him be right just to give him the warmth of it. Not once. I had let him be right when he was right, but I had never simply given him the gift of it. Never said, "Edmund, you were right about this and I was wrong, and I'm glad you said so." Never let him win a small thing just because I loved him and he needed to feel it. That is what the need to be right costs you. It does not cost you the argument. It costs you the closeness. Slowly, over 30 years, until you are sitting next to a dying man and realizing you were the one building the distance the whole time. You are doing this too. I know you are. You think it is honesty. You think it is integrity. You tell yourself you simply cannot pretend to agree when you do not agree. But ask yourself this: when did you last let someone you love be right? Not because they were right, but because you love them and their dignity matters more than your record. Think about that. Pride will make you lonely and call it dignity. I know this now. I wish I had known it at 30. The second thing I stopped caring about was what people thought of me. I grew up in a time when reputation was not a luxury. It was survival. A woman's name was the thing that determined whether she could marry, whether her children would be received, whether she would be helped in hard times or turned away. I understood this from girlhood. My mother understood it. Her mother understood it. So I watched myself, constantly. Every word I spoke in public was measured. Every dress I wore to church was considered. When my husband's business went badly in the early 1880s, and we had to sell the mare and take in a boarder to make the payments, I arranged it all quietly, in ways that would not show. I walked into church on Sunday with my head straight and my expression calm, and no one who looked at me would have known that I had cried the entire night before about the state of our finances. I was so careful about what the town thought of me that I sometimes think I spent more energy managing appearances than I spent living. And now I am 91 years old, and I can tell you, with the full authority of a woman who has watched nearly everyone she ever tried to impress die, not one of them is still here to remember what they thought of me. Not one. The women who sat in judgment at the church social in 1879 are dead. The neighbours who watched us when the business failed are dead. The acquaintances who whispered after my daughter's difficult first marriage are dead. Gone. All of them gone. And I am still here, and none of it mattered, not one bit of it. Not one single hour I spent worrying about what they thought. I cannot get those hours back. You are living in fear of people who will not remember you. Do you understand that? The ones whose opinions feel so large right now, so permanent, so damning if turned against you, will not remember your name in 20 years. They will be gone, or you will be gone, or life will have moved in directions that make your current shame or your current respectability equally irrelevant. I am not telling you to behave badly. I am not telling you to stop caring about anything. I am telling you that the fear of judgment is eating years of your life that you cannot afford to lose. And you do not see it yet. You think the watching and the worrying are just part of life. They are not. They are a tax you are paying on a debt that does not exist. Stop paying it. Or pay it until you are old enough to see what I see. Either way, one day you will stop. I only wish I had stopped sooner. The third thing I stopped caring about was the approval of people who were never going to give it. This one is harder to admit than the others. I had a mother who was not a warm woman. She was not cruel. I want to be clear about that. She fed us and clothed us and made sure we were schooled and churched and married respectably. She worked without complaint from before dawn until after dark every day of her life. She was a good woman by every measure the world would have used to judge her, but she did not show warmth. She did not say that she was proud of you. She did not hold you or soften when you needed softening. If you did well, she noted it without praise. If you failed, she noted it without comfort. She was an even, steady, hard-working woman, and I believe she loved her children, but I never once felt it in the way a child needs to feel it. I spent the first 40 years of my life trying to earn something from her that she simply did not have to give. Every time I did something well, I was doing it partly for her eyes. When I ran my household cleanly, when my children were well behaved in public, when my canning was better than the neighbours, when Edmund spoke well of me to people she knew. I was always, underneath whatever I was doing, watching her face to see if this time she would soften. This time she would say, "Harriet, you have done well." She died in 1891 without ever saying it. And the grief of that is not the grief of losing her. The grief is the 40 years I spent oriented toward a woman who was not able to give me what I was looking for. 40 years of quietly arranging my life around a hope that never came. You know what I am talking about. You may not have had a cold mother, but there is someone in your life, or there was, whose approval you have been reaching for. A parent, a spouse, a sibling, a person at your work. Someone whose opinion of you feels like it would change something, settle something, prove something. And you keep working for it, and they keep not giving it. And you keep telling yourself that the right moment will come, the right gesture, the right proof of yourself, and then they will finally see you. They will not. Not in the way you need. Some people do not have it to give, and some people are giving it, and you are too locked inside the waiting to feel it. Either way, the waiting is the thing that is costing you. Every year you spend reaching for that approval is a year you are not living freely, not loving freely, not being yourself freely. I am 91. I stopped waiting for my mother to soften decades before she died, but I wasted 40 years before I stopped. I will not tell you those were wasted years, because they were also years of living and raising children and burying the dead and doing the 1,000 hard things life asks. But underneath all of it, there was always that reaching, and it exhausted me in ways I did not fully understand until it stopped. Stop reaching. If they could give it, they would have. Or they already have and you have been too hungry to feel it. Either way, you will not find what you are looking for there. What you are looking for is inside the life you are living right now, in the people who are already present, already showing up, already giving you what they have to give. Look at them instead. The fourth thing I stopped caring about was grudges. I held a grudge against my sister Margaret for 11 years. I will tell you what the grudge was about. It was about our mother's sewing box after she died. There were some things in it that our mother had always said would go to me, and when she died and we were going through the house, Margaret took them. She said she did not remember any such promise. I know she remembered. We had both heard it. She took them anyway, because Margaret had always been that way with things she wanted, and I had always been that way with things I believed were right, and the combination of those two things, in the weeks of grief after our mother's death, became a wound that did not heal for 11 years. We lived 10 miles from each other. We stopped visiting. We stopped writing. At family occasions where we could not avoid being present in the same room, we were civil in the way two people can be civil when they have decided that neither will be the first to speak. The children noticed. They learned not to mention one aunt to the other. Life arranged itself around the wound. And I was right. I want to say that clearly. I was right about the sewing box. The promise had been made, and Margaret had taken what was not hers to take. I was right. And I was also lonely, and also estranged from the only sister I had, and also missing her at moments when I desperately would have wanted her near. When Edmund died, I did not write to tell her until 3 weeks after the funeral. Do you understand what that means? My husband died, and the person who had known me since childhood, was not someone I could reach toward in my grief, because I was still carrying a grudge about a sewing box. Margaret came to me eventually. She wrote first. She was not good at apology, and what she wrote was not quite one, but it was enough. I accepted it. We had 8 more years before she died. Good years, mostly. Years I am glad to have had. But I had thrown away 11 years because I was not willing to let go of something that I could not change. The sewing box was gone. My things were in Margaret's house. They were never coming back to me. And I had stood in the cold of being right about it for 11 years, instead of walking back toward my sister. Anger feels righteous while it is emptying your life. I know you have a grudge right now. I know you have a situation where you were wronged, and the person who wronged you has not paid for it adequately, and every time you think about it you feel that burn in your chest that feels like justice waiting to happen. I know. I had it for 11 years, but I need you to understand something. The grudge does not live in the person who wronged you. It lives in you. It takes up space in your chest that should be filled with other things. It colors the years. It makes you colder, harder, more defended than you need to be. And the person who wronged you is out there living their life, while you are in here carrying the weight of what they did. Put it down. Not for them, for you. For the years you have left. For the sister or brother or friend or spouse who is still alive and still reachable, if you can bring yourself to reach. I almost waited too long. I had 8 good years. I am grateful for them, but I cannot stop wondering what 19 would have felt like. The 5th thing I stopped caring about was appearances, the way my life looked from outside. Edmund and I built a respectable life. We were not wealthy, but we were steady. We had a house in good repair, children who were schooled and churched, a name that was known and well enough regarded. I worked hard to maintain all of it. The house was kept, the children were presentable. When neighbours came, the table was set properly. I'm not saying there is no value in order. There is. I was not wrong to care about the way we lived. But I cared about the outside of things in ways that cost me the inside. There was a year, I think it was 1878, when Edmund and I were in real trouble. Not just the business trouble, which was later. This was a colder trouble, a trouble between us that I do not know the right word for. We were not speaking badly to each other. We were not fighting in ways the children would have noticed. We were simply far apart, in the way that 2 people who have been married long enough can be far apart while standing in the same kitchen. Something had dried out between us. I felt it. I believe he felt it, and I did not say a word about it to anyone. Not to my mother, who was still living. Not to my closest neighbour, who was also my closest friend at that time. Not to the minister who had married us. No one. Because how do you say that? How do you say to anyone in 1878 that your marriage has gone cold inside and you do not know how to warm it back up? You do not say it. You maintain the appearance of a good home and a steady life, and you hope that time does the work you are not doing. We found our way back to each other. Slowly, over the next few years, the distance closed. Edmund softened something in himself. I softened something in mine. We were better by the time of the business trouble, which is part of why we survived that trouble. But we found our way back through time and luck, and not through anything deliberate I can point to. I never said to him, "Edmund, we are far apart and I miss you." I never said it. I was too afraid of what it would mean to say it, too afraid of what it might reveal about the life we were presenting to the world. The appearances I was maintaining were costing me the conversation I needed to have with my own husband. I see women now, younger women, arranging their lives around how things look, working to show a contentment they do not feel, keeping quiet about struggles that would be helped by speaking, holding the surface smooth at the cost of everything underneath. It does not work. The surface holds for a while, and then the underneath comes through anyway, only now it is more damaged from the years of silence, and you have lost time. Your life is not the version other people see. Your life is what is actually happening inside your house, inside your marriage, inside your chest at 3 in the morning. That is the life you need to attend to, not the appearance of it, the actual thing. If your actual life needs something, say it. Ask for it. Do not wait until you have made it look perfect from outside before you will allow yourself to address the fact that it is broken inside. The 6th thing I stopped caring about was the urgency of small things. I look back now at how much of my life I spent in states of great urgency about things that were not urgent. The bread that did not rise correctly. The letter that needed to be written before the week was out. The disagreement with the butcher over the price of the shoulder. The child who had misbehaved in a way that required addressing firmly. The neighbour whose fence had moved 2 feet into our kitchen garden. The visiting cousin who had said something at the table that was not quite an insult, but was not quite not one, and I spent 3 days deciding whether to address it. Every one of these things felt pressing when it was in front of me. Every one of these things required my full attention, my energy, my worry, my management. I was the kind of woman who managed things. I was good at it. The household ran because I ran it. The problems resolved because I addressed them. But I spent my life in motion toward the next small emergency. And now I am sitting very still, and all the small emergencies are gone, and I cannot remember most of them, and the ones I can remember have not grown in significance with time. They shrank. The bread, the letter, the butcher, the fence, the cousin. None of it mattered. None of it remained. None of it is part of what I understand to be the substance of my life. What I remember is different. I remember the morning one of my daughters climbed into the bed between Edmund and me before we were fully awake, and the 3 of us lay there in the early light with her warm between us and no particular reason to get up yet. I remember a September when the harvest was good, and Edmund came in from the field at the end of the day with his face loose and pleased in a way it did not often have cause to be, and I thought, there it is. That is his real face. I remember my sister Margaret's laugh. I remember certain evenings, certain winters. I do not remember the urgency. I remember the moments when the urgency stopped. You are spending your days in motion toward the next thing that needs addressing. I know you are. The thing at work that cannot wait, the errand that must be done today, the message that needs answering before the day is out, the problem with the child, the difficulty with the spouse, the tension with the neighbour, the list that never gets shorter. You are moving through your life in a permanent state of gentle emergency, and the moments when nothing urgent is happening feel strange, feel wrong, feel like you must be forgetting something. You are not forgetting something. You are being given something, and you are not taking it. The moments when nothing urgent is happening are the moments your life is actually happening. They are not the in-between. They are the thing itself. I learned this too late. I learned it after the children were grown, and Edmund was gone, and the house was quiet, and there was nothing urgent anymore, and I finally understood that the quiet had always been available. I had just been moving too fast to stop in it. Stop in it. Now. While there are still people in the house. While the children are still young enough to climb into the bed between you. Stop in it, whatever the small emergency is, whatever can wait an hour. Let it wait. Be in the room where you are. You think you have time. You do not. The seventh thing I stopped caring about was the illusion that I could control what happened. I want to be careful here, because I do not mean that trying is useless. I tried all my life. I worked hard, I planned, I prepared, I made decisions with the information I had and tried to make them well. That effort was not wasted. Some of it helped. Some of it made the bad things less bad than they would otherwise have been. But I spent enormous amounts of my life in the grip of a feeling that if I just managed things correctly, if I was careful enough, vigilant enough, prepared enough, the worst things would not happen. I believed that control was possible. Not total control. I was not a foolish woman. But enough control. Enough that the things I most feared would not come to pass if I was careful enough. I was wrong. My son William died in the summer of 1883. He was 9 years old. He had been healthy. There was nothing I had failed to do. The fever came quickly, and it did not break, and he was gone in 10 days. I had been careful about everything. I had been vigilant about everything. I had done everything a good mother could do, and it did not matter, because what came for him did not care about any of it. I will not describe to you what it is to lose a child. If you have lost one, you know. If you have not, no description will give you the truth of it. I will only say that the certainty I had believed in, the sense that careful living would protect the people I loved, did not survive that summer. And the grief of losing him was complicated, in ways I could not untangle for years, by the particular grief of discovering that I had never been as protected as I believed. That is the hidden cost of the illusion of control. It is not just that you exhaust yourself trying to manage what cannot be managed. It is that when the unmanageable thing happens anyway, you lose the illusion and the person at the same time. The grief comes doubled. The loss of the person, and the loss of the belief that had kept you feeling safe. I do not say this to be cruel. I say it because I see people spending their lives in the grip of control, arranging and rearranging, and preparing and preventing, and underneath all of it is the same fear I had. If I am careful enough, the worst will not happen. I can protect what I love. You cannot always. Some things come regardless. Some losses are not preventable. The fever does not check your record of carefulness before it comes. The accident does not consult your preparations. The grief does not wait until you are ready.